Okay, we'll call this meeting to order at 6 p.m. Allendale Public Schools commit to educate, inspire, and support all students. Amy, do you have the roll call? Thank you. Please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Our statement of commitment.
Principle 4.1, individual trustees as locally elected officials with state delegate responsibilities by their words and actions reflect upon all trustees, even beyond their own district.
Thank you, Kevin. Members of the audience are welcome to make comments at the time designated on the agenda. Please register at the sign-up sheet near the door. Limit your comments to 3 minutes when your name is called. Out of respect for all individuals, please refrain from personal criticisms in an open forum. And there is more detail in policy 167.3. Do I have a motion to approve the agenda?
Make a motion to approve the agenda as presented.
Support.
Motion by Kevin, support from Kim. Discussion. All in favor, say aye. Aye. All opposed, say the same. Agenda passes as presented. Do I have a motion to approve the consent agenda?
Make a motion to approve the consent agenda as presented.
Support.
Motion by Kevin, second by Kim. Any discussion? All in favor, say aye. Aye. All opposed, say the same. Consent agenda passes as presented. All right. All those noisy guys out in the hallway. We got our educational highlights. We're gonna first introduce our cross-country boys individuals, and then we've got the whole squad is invited today. So, yeah, we'll bring those guys in, if you would. Someone. Well, just kind of, you can have them line up there at the back, and then I'll call them up as. So we got our cross-country all-state team here. We're going to start with the individuals, like I said. I want you guys to come up, kind of stand in a row here, kind of as you are now, and then we'll get some photos at the end. All right? All right. And so, all-state coach, correct me if I'm wrong here. It's 33 places are all-state? The top 30. The top 30 are all-state. And so we had 5 guys in the top 30. 29th place with a time of 15:48, Parker T-Top. Seventh place, 2 spots behind Parker with 15:47, Ben Gross.
27th is faster than 27th.
In 15th place, we have Ronnie Silvera. place, 1529, Killian Whalen. In ninth place, with an Allendale school record, 1524, Mason Hill. All right, these guys didn't do it alone. Even though it's an individual sport, we have practices, we have rabbits that go out during practices, and these guys are all a big part of this team also. So we've got a whole team here, and honoring them as a team as all state. All right? Jackson Myers. Jackson Ramos. Andrew Skolden. Thomas Zuniga. Ben Gross. All right. 11th graders. Corbin Barker. Jackson Sternum. Dave Smith. And Jane Sprague. Nick Eisen. Adam Hasselbach. Zach Hikes. Owen McKnight. Dave Ashworth. Cameron's not here. Cameron Chouinard is there. And Elliot Olson. All right, so, hey, you guys set the bar pretty high this year. Expect to see you back here every year from now on. Nice job, guys. Big round of applause for all of them. Thank you. You're free to go. You stay for all the fun if you like. Thanks a lot, guys.
Thanks, guys. Good
Good job, guys.
We're out of here like it's that last 20 years.
All right, thank you. All right, that was fun. Next on the agenda, we have public comments. First on the list, we have Marcy Hurlbut.
Good evening. Thanks for letting me be here tonight. First, I just want to say thank you for what you're currently doing in our schools for mental health for our kids. I think it is a burden you shouldn't have to take on, but you have voluntarily committed to doing, so I just want to say thank you for supporting that. Also, I just want to say that I appreciate the physical protection that you offer to our schools. And I might argue that we are overprotecting our kids in the real world and underprotecting our kids in the virtual world, so I just want to talk about that a little bit. Many parents, and I'm going to include myself in this, are handing our kids one of the most powerful tools in the universe, far beyond what their frontal cortex of their brains are developed to actually process, and then we all expect them to make sound discernment and good judgments throughout their days. And by the way, much of this online universe takes place in a world where teachers and actually parents can rarely access or even understand ourselves. And for those of you who are not scientists, I am, the frontal cortex of the brain generally matures in our mid-20s, with complete development often into our 30s. This part of the brain is actually responsible for good judgment, impulse control, and sound decision-making. There's significant data, and I have a handout for you that I actually gave Amy so that you guys can process, not asking for any decisions, just more like an informative thing. But there is significant data in the handout that really correlates how these little computers are affecting our kids' mental health, including since about 2010. So in there, what you'll see is since 2010, major depression has risen 145% in girls and 161% in boys. Emergency room self-harm visits have increased by 188% in girls and 48% in boys. Suicide rates for younger adolescents have increased by 91% for boys and 167% for girls. While many critics would say this is not due to the use of iPhones, there is not any economic event or trend that can explain why girls are harmed more than boys, and why preteen girls are harmed more than anyone else. Also, this harm is not exclusive to the United States, it's worldwide. I just want to say I work for Corwell Health. We had to open 11-bed psych med unit at Helen DeVos Children's Hospital, in which it was heartbreaking, honestly, to go to that ribbon breaking because of the staggering suicide attempts we see in the emergency room at Helen DeVos. And this is the adolescents, teens, and kids right within our community. Sorry. I lost my place, sorry about that. And I would just say the one thing I think about is I think our kids are more afraid of social death than they actually are of physical death, because actually physical death ends their pain, but social death is like living in hell. Sorry, okay. Can I say the 2 requests I have?
You can have a closing statement.
Yeah, I just have a closing statement. I lost my spot. So the 2 requests I have tonight are just require all Allendale Public School members and administrative leadership to read the book, Anxious Generation. It's actually on the front cover of that. My second ask tonight is for our school to step up and aid in contributing to a better mental health and more conducive learning environment for our youth by making our schools a phone-free school. There are schools already in our community who are doing this by requiring kids to put their phones in lock boxes or slots before school. Thank you for your time, and I just want you to know I'm here to support you in any way I can if the board supports implementing this plan.
Thank you, Marcy. Next on the list, Emily Miller.
Hello. First, I would like to say thank you for supporting the Visual Arts Department as we were all able to attend the Michigan Art Education Association Annual Fall Conference this last weekend in Lansing. On Saturday morning, our department presented together one of the professional development sessions that we hosted last year at APS, integrating art into general classrooms, and many people in the session said it was their favorite of the conference. We are very grateful that we are able to spend that time collaborating not only with each other, but with art educators across the state. We also have our annual Y512 Winter Art Show coming up. The opening reception is December 2nd from 5:30 to 7 at the Fine Arts Center and will be on display through December 20th. I also wanted to highlight a few things that I've been seeing and hearing around my buildings over the last month. A connection that I have to using the PBIS in schools is that I see it carrying from one school to another because I'm at ECC and Evergreen. We use a few acronyms to get students to remember expectations such as lines, snack, and plays. One day during my lunchtime at Evergreen, I heard some students being loud in the bathroom across the hall, and then I heard another student who was walking by, a second grader, and he just yelled, "Go, wipe, flush, wash, leave," a few times, and it was really funny because I knew what he was saying, and the kids inside were not really paying attention, like, what? What are you saying? And he's like, "Go, wipe, flush, wash, leave," because that's what we have ingrained in their heads. And so it was really funny because they were not getting the hint, but I heard the student showing those expectations, and I gave him a Falcon ticket because he was doing what we were supposed to do, walking through the hallway. Every morning at ECC, we go over our PBIS expectations, and it's great to see the follow-through as they continue to grow through the schools. Another story about ECC is that we had a friend in Young Fives who was the youngest in a family of 3 boys. He had been struggling with separation anxiety for a few weeks. After he was dropped off about 2 weeks ago, his grandma stopped Mrs. Dulce and expressed how delighted she was that a handful of kids gathered around him and were excited to start their day by walking in together. She said it was so sweet that they all seemed to really care about each other.
1 minute.
We are very grateful to have an amazing behavior and support system and staff, social workers, psychologists, everybody that helps us get through the day to help to continue to build our classroom and school communities, and we hope it continues to grow. Thank you.
Thank you, Emily. If anyone would like to speak that did not sign in, you may do so now. Okay, we are on to our committee reports, our ad hoc CAB. Nothing? All right, superintendent's report. Take it away, Garth.
Thank you. So we just have a couple of dates on the calendar for now, but as Mrs. Miller pointed out, it's gonna start filling up fast. You'll see a lot of concerts and art showcases and things like that, so please be on the lookout for those events. I wanted to give an update on the election, which was held on November 5th. We had 2 members of our community voted to the Allendale Public Schools Board of Education starting in January, and I hope they don't mind me calling them out, but they're both here. So Ms. Tanya Harris and Mr. Brandon Tembrink, can you stand up? For anybody who doesn't know, these are our 2 newest board members starting in January. Congratulations to them. I wanted to give an update on the property purchase. So we've had all the inspections done and everything came back good. We're very excited about that. You may have noticed that the tenant is no longer living in the house on the property, so that's been cleared out. The only thing that we're waiting for is that the family has had to make a request to the state to end their farmland development rights agreement. It was a 7-year agreement that they had entered, but they have 1 year left on it, and they can get out of it, but it's a process. So they applied to the state, and then once the state comes back and request the cancellation of the rest of that agreement, then we'll set a closing date. So we're still hoping by December 1st, but I'll keep you posted as we go along. And that's all I had.
Board comments? Josh?
Yeah, today is Veterans Day, so thank you to all of our veterans who have served us. And I had the opportunity today to attend the celebration program at the high school, and just want to say thank you to Ms. Murphy for the incredible program that you put on. The speakers were great. The students were incredibly respectful, I thought, and were very participatory in everything that was taking place. So it was an honor and privilege to be there and to see that. And then I had 2 other people that I had shared with that when I had booked that in my calendar that said that they were disappointed to hear that their schools had canceled theirs and did not have programs this year in honor of Veterans Day. So I just want to say kudos for that, and that we still continue to do that and celebrate that. So thank you.
I would just like to say thank you to all of our student athletes. The cross-country team obviously is phenomenal, and they have represented us very well as so many of our other athletes. So thank you all for coming out, and thank you for all the hard work that you do every day. Practice and games, and we really appreciate it.
I'd like to also say thank you to all our veterans. God bless you. Thank you. You are so appreciated, and also all of our cross-country team left, but congrats to them. What an incredible achievement.
Yeah, thank you to our veterans. It's these great freedoms we have is because of them. So, big thank you to them. Appreciate all the commitment they made to keep us safe. And then also the sports, all of our sports have fall sports have come to an end. A big thank you to the coaches. It's countless hours that, you know, they don't get reimbursed besides the joy of spending with these kids and hopefully setting a course for the rest of their lives and how to be a good teammate and a good team. And thank you to the coaches, to the athletes for all the time they put in. I just love seeing sports and extracurriculars in general are just an extra special part of school. I think we need to keep encouraging more and more kids to participate in something, robotics. I mean, we got such great programs. I just hope we can keep it growing and hopefully get some more teams in the state talk of, we had a regional finals soccer team, which is very impressive, and state championship, cross-country team for state championship in quite a while, and I just hope all these other sports look at that and are excited to be part of the Allendale program. That's all I got.
Yep. All right, also, thank you to all of our veterans. That's a very near and dear day to me. I heard the assembly was great today. Maybe one day I will be able to not work and be able to attend. But thank you to them and the sacrifices they've made for our country. Congrats to Tanya and Brandon. I'm glad you guys are here tonight. Also, thank you to Troy and Aaron for running and for their engagement. It's not an easy thing to do, to put yourself out there, and for continued engagement even after running. And of course, congrats to cross country, to soccer, to the other fall sports. It was a lot of fun, lots of growth and lots of various things happening around Allendale, so that's really cool to see. I know we're going to be talking tonight on new bond proposals and things like that. With the last bond proposal, there's always a lot of swirl on social media that we see and a lot of varying opinions and stuff, and so I just encourage the community to reach out to us. It's interesting, like lots of people want to talk about it, but we don't hear a lot from our perspective as far as, sometimes voting on those things. We would love emails, communication as to what people want to see or want us to talk about while we're up here. So as opposed to just social media or, different talks, like engage us and let us know, because that should reflect, you should let us know how you want us to vote on various things. So we're very open to hearing some of those. So as we talk about it tonight, keep that in mind. Public comment, emails, various things, like let us know how it's going and what the community would like to see. So I echo what my fellow board members have mentioned tonight. Also, Mrs. Miller, thank you for the update. I believe some accolades are headed your way, and I wrote it down, but I left it at home on a sticky note. So I know you had a, is it MEA? MEA. And you received some awards there, so Dr. Cooper can get that out to us, but I apologize. I was gonna bring it up and I left it at home, so congratulations, and that is it.
First and foremost, thank you for what we did for Veterans Day. And it's not just one person, it's a whole army of people putting things like this together. Walk in and see this the first thing you see. It's just awesome. I've always tipped my hat to Allendale, the way we celebrate the 4th of July, and Veterans Day is another extension of that. So thank you to everyone that had a hand in pulling off a great event. Piggybacking on one of our public comments and what you said, Kevin, coaches are an extension of the classroom. I went to an event Saturday, and they talked about how the guy just asked a general question, how many of you are teachers? And there's a smattering of, a couple people raised their hand. He said, no, how many of you are teachers? And, oh, okay, that's everybody, right? So it's learning life skills. There is a winner and a loser. There isn't just a grade handed out. It's persevering in a tough situation, and and getting away from that phone, and the kids, getting more kids to participate. I agree with that, to get them closer to each other, to our community, and working hard to achieve a goal together. So, yeah, I thought those were very good points there. And our new board members, congratulations. And we'll be in touch soon with orientation and getting you guys a little bit more comfortable with the things you don't see up here. So, congratulations. All right, that's all for me blathering. On to our action items. Do I have a motion to approve the high school and middle school Science Olympiad field trip?
Motion to approve the high school and middle school Science Olympiad field trip as presented.
Support.
Motion from Pam, support from Kevin, and we are open for discussion.
Yeah, this is an event that our Science Olympiad teams have been going to for years. It's typically been in January, but they've had a couple in the last few years that got canceled due to weather, and so they hope to, get around that by moving it up to November. But it's a great tournament. It's a huge tournament in Indiana. Really good experience for our kids. And I don't know if this is good news or bad news, but I'll be going with them because I'll be driving pulling the trailer with all the equipment in it. So I will be there for this one if they're allowed to go. But yeah, hope you'll approve it because it's a great trip for our kids.
Anything further? All in favor of approving the high school, middle school Science Olympiad field trip, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. All in favor, or all opposed, say the same. Motion passes as presented. Do I have a motion to approve the bond proposal to be presented to the Michigan Department of Treasury?
Motion to approve the bond proposal to be presented to the Michigan Department of Treasury as presented.
Support.
Motion by Pam, second by Kevin. And we are open for discussion. Garth?
Yeah, so I have a PDF up here. Would have put it in PowerPoint, but there's a couple slides that I want to be able to enlarge, and by having it in PDF, I can do that. So we spent a considerable amount of time discussing the original bond proposal. We had a lot of meetings with different stakeholder groups, both internally, meeting with teacher groups and aides and bus drivers and administrators and board members, had some discussion, and we also met with external stakeholders and got a lot of feedback on the original bond proposal. We went out in August, and unfortunately that proposal did fail. And so we set about to try to understand why, and we put together a survey that we sent out, and then we reviewed those results. Just as a reminder of our groups, our group did change a little bit from the first steering committee to the second. These are the folks that had helped us go through some of the information and then start to think about what our plan would be going forward. Just a reminder of who those folks are. And then, of course, I'm there and Mr. Torno's there as well. These are the folks who we work with. On the financial side is Baker Tilly, our architect is TMP, and the construction management team that's been helping us with the pre-bond process is Triangle. So we sent out this survey and we got almost 1,000 responses, and that is an incredible amount of responses. That you almost never get that many on something like this, so we're very excited about that. We also did a lot of person-to-person communication, just board stakeholders and steering committee members, just talking to people in the community and getting feedback. And then, of course, we had meetings with our stakeholder groups again. We had some conversation at the board level at one of our meetings to process after the election. I went and met with three of our staff meetings, and Troy went to two, and just met with the staff, and again, just kind of processed, what happened and got some more feedback. And so then we had all that information, and a lot of what we heard was very positive about the bond in general. There's some hesitation about the cost of the bond, but in general, the people that we heard from thought that what was in the original proposal reflected the needs of the district, as well as some of those areas where we really think that we're behind other districts and want to catch up, and some areas that we think we can improve the educational environment for our students. Things like the industrial arts classroom, for example, expanding the ECC to put all of our preschoolers back in the early childhood building, those kinds of things. And so we took all that information and we gathered and we processed. Actually had two different meetings about this, and there's two things that came up as changes to the original proposal. One of the things, and I don't know why it didn't come out the first time, I met with teachers from the Early Childhood Center who were able to be there and got some feedback through email, but this idea of an auxiliary room never came out. And so if you see in the bottom left corner of this diagram, you'll see a little section that comes off to the side there. What that is, we have a lot of preschool classes. And if we add the 8 classrooms and get all of our preschool back in that building, we're gonna have even more preschool classrooms in that one building. The concern is that on really bad weather days, and I don't mean cold, snowy days, kids love going out on cold, snowy days, but on there's certain bad weather days where you just can't take kids outside, there's no place for our smallest kids to kind of get that energy out because our building is in such use all the time. It's not like, just go play in the gym. Well, you can't play in the gym because there's a class in there. And so the idea is we're going to create a 3,000 square foot kind of auxiliary room, multi-purpose room, something that our preschoolers then can use to, during those times when the weather's bad. Might even use it where you can take some kids in the multi-purpose room and some to the playground, so there's fewer kids on the playground. Lots of ways to use that. If you want to do like small little assemblies with groups, you could do that in that room. After school, it will be perfect for our wraparound program because as our preschool continues to grow, the need for wraparound supervision before and after school grows. And again, it's hard to put them all in one place, so that would be an excellent spot for that. And as you can see, that's the preschool hallway. So the vision is for that auxiliary room to go off the end of the preschool hallway. That's also a spot that, in the evening is just another location. So like if a Girl Scout group or Boy Scout group wanted to have a meeting in there, that would be a great space for something like that as well. So we really think that would be a great enhancement to that building. Again, not sure why that didn't come out in the first iteration, but it's a great idea, and so we wanted to make sure we included that. And then TMP just did a couple of quick renderings for us, and so you can see how down here on the left, right off the edge of those playgrounds, there's definitely space to put that auxiliary room between the playground and the parking lot, which in the real world is to the east of the campus. One of the things to take note of, because someone said, well, that's going to cut off that parking lot then. So what do we do then? Well, the plan was always to increase that parking lot. Again, anybody who's been at the ECC for an event knows we need more parking, so we want to expand that parking lot to the south, and then that would actually, then the parking spots would be around the end of that building. So that's the addition to the ECC in this second iteration that we're talking about. One of the things that we kind of got overlooked at when we talked about academics too was our robotics program that was mentioned earlier. We have an awesome robotics program. They have over 100 students in grades, I think, 1 through 12 throughout the district. They need a lot of space. They've been highly successful. They often win states or through their participation in states qualify for national competitions. We've sent teams to Iowa. We send teams to Texas every year. So we wanted to have a space for robotics. It's also a space that Science Olympiad might look at using because they also have construction events, you know, the little rubber band cars they have to make. They sometimes do catapults or trebuchets they have to build, things like that. So having a space for academics, our science teachers could go out there, use some of that wide open space, and we would want to build that right off the back of the field house. So we have a nice multi-purpose area. You know, maybe, again, we have an event, something going on inside the field house. There will be an entryway into the Innovation Center, the Robotics Innovation Center, and so then you could use both spaces at the same time. See a lot of great uses for that. And this is kind of what the rendering would look like. So the field house would be on the northern end of the football stadium. The Robotics Innovation Center would be on the back, and then they could share the parking lot. So the nice thing about this is when we talked about building a robotics center, we looked at a lot of different locations around our campuses, but several of them that we looked at don't have water and sewer, they don't have the electrical, they don't have parking, and so the costs, those added costs really skyrocket. By putting them located like this, not only do you have that collaboration opportunity, but it saves you cost because you're putting in sewer, electrical, parking for both. And so it really is cost efficient by doing it that way. And then just one more photo, just to kind of look like what that entryway would look to those two buildings. So the football stadium, you know, is to the right of those photos, that top left photo. And so there'll be parking where that's now a grass field. Just, I think that would be a lot more user-friendly even for access to the football stadium. And down below to the right. Again, these are all just renderings. If the bond were to pass, then the real work starts, and we have people come in and we get, you know, feedback and what do you want to see in an entryway to the football stadium? What would you like to see for this area? Talk about lighting and those kind of things. So that's the rendering for that. So then the change to the original proposal. And I can blow that up a little bit. Helps. So if you look at what we removed, so we talked about remodeling the locker rooms in the high school. Now, the locker rooms in the high school are in fine shape. They really are. They're maybe dated, you would say, but they're in fine shape. One of the reasons we wanted to remodel that locker room was because the one area where they do fall woefully short is football equipment. Can't get football equipment in there. Well, if we do, fortunate enough to pass the bond, one of the things that will go in the field house, our team rooms, our football teams can use that area, and so we feel like we can hold off on remodeling that locker room. The other thing we talked about is that those bathrooms right outside of the high school gym, we had some sewer issues in the past. Quite honestly, we put some money into that, and you know, we've blown that out. And then what we do now before every big event, like if we're hosting a wrestling regional, is we bring the sewer guys out, and they snake the lines and blow them out. And I don't want to get too graphic, but it seems to work. We've had that happen. We've done that a couple of times now for the last two events, and we haven't had any issues. The cost of that is like $500 each time we do it, and it's like, okay, so I can do that 1,000 times before the same cost of renovating that bathroom. So it just makes a lot more sense to do that until it becomes an issue where we can't do it anymore, because the problem with fixing that is you gotta tear everything out. All the toilets, all the urinals, all the sinks, everything. This way, we think we're in a good spot, so we thought we could take that out. Buses are one of those things that we've done a nice job updating our bus fleet. I think we've probably bought 12 in the last 4 years, something like that. We think that because you have been so good with the money, you've allowed us to build a capital projects fund, that we can use some of those capital project fund dollars to purchase buses. As you know, we just were awarded a bus grant again, which will give us the opportunity to purchase 5 more buses this year at 70% of the cost. And so that's a huge savings. We feel we can afford to do that out of our capital projects fund. We talked about this last time, how there's two pots. There's the bond pot and there's the capital funds pot and the general fund, how we take from those. The LED parking lot lights, so one of the things that we talked about was replacing and upgrading all of the light heads on all the parking lot poles across the district for energy efficiency. The biggest part of that cost, because that, people are like, wow, that's a lot for light bulbs. The parking lot poles at the high school cannot accommodate LED lighting. And Mr. Torner wasn't able to be here today, or he could probably tell you exactly why, because I can't exactly remember, but something about the material they're made out of is not conducive to LED lighting. So a lot of that cost was the high school parking lot alone. The rest isn't nearly that expensive. We feel like we take it out of the bond, we knock it off one school at a time, we work with maybe DTE or Consumers Energy, see if there's some grants out there to save some dollars, and so we take that out of the bond. There was talk about putting another playground at the ECC. We still feel like, of course, we'd love to have lots of playgrounds, but we feel like we have a lot of playground space over there already, a lot of nice green space, and of course, if we do add the auxiliary room, we didn't feel another playground was needed at this time, so we took that off the list. And then we looked at reducing the size of the maintenance building. I'm not being silly here. I think one of the things that reducing the size of the maintenance building might do for us is help us to be a little more intentional about what it is we're saving. And so there's actually some benefit, I think, to streamlining the size of that building. But that's where we're saving some cost there too. So that would be taking $5.4 million out of the original bond proposal. And you can see the two adds at the bottom, the auxiliary room at the ECC, and then the robotics innovation building would come to almost exactly the same cost. And so, again, listening to the feedback, going through what we heard, in terms of what we're asking for and what we'd like to see happen for the campus, this seemed like it really reflected most of the feedback that we got on that. So the overall financial implication then, we're going to ask to go out for a bond of $88,135,000. That's slightly less than before. It was $88,270. This time we want to do it in one series rather than two. Gives us more flexibility in what order we complete the projects. Disadvantage to doing it in one series versus two is in one series you sell all the bonds immediately, you start paying interest. The good news is you can offset some of that because what money you don't spend, you can sort of invest. And so the interest you make on your investment can help offset the cost of the interest you're paying early. And so doing it in two series, we would have paid less in interest, we would have made less in positive interest, and it would have been a little harder to balance the things that we need to schedule, the way we need to schedule them. Again, it's really important. I really want folks to understand this. This proposal represents a zero increase to the current bond millage rate of 12 mils. So I have a couple of graphs here that Baker Tilly, again, put together for us. This first graph is if we do nothing. If we don't pass a bond, this is what our payments look like. The green line is the non-qualified bond that I think we passed in 2017. The yellow is the bonds that we passed previously. The black is the two combined. So that's why there's three lines. But really, it's the black is the one that we have to pay. The yellow and green just tell you which bond they go towards. So you'll see that we're going to pay 12 mils till 2033. There's nothing we can do about that. We cannot reduce the 12 mils. That's set. So between now and 2033, we are paying 12 mils. If the bond were to pass, this is what it would look like. The 12 mils would go out to 2042 instead. And so instead of dropping off at 2033, it drops off at about 2042. Again, no increase. You're not going to pay more than 12 mils. You're not going to, you're going to pay more money because the value of your home is hopefully going to go up. But the 12 mils will stay the same. It's just that range of years from 2034 to 2042. Those are additional years where we'll be paying 12 mils. The other thing is, and I got this request really late, and so it didn't make it into the slides, but I did, and I kind of hand drew it, so I should have told you this was my daughter who helped me with this, but if you go to the very last page of your booklet, and I apologize to those out there, it really came in late. Somebody said, well, what if we break it in half? What if we only want to do half the bond? Okay, well, if you only want to do half the bond, what you're probably going to see then is that in 2033, that black line where the 12 mills would have fallen off is probably going to go out to about 2037 or 2038, where the red line is. And where that's shaded in, that will be the additional revenue, the additional taxes that you'll have to pay. That's where you'll have to pay from 2034 to 2037 or 38. You'll have to pay that 12 mills. If you look at the area between the red line and here, that's where you could save. So you would save that 4 or 5 years of 12 mills by cutting the bond in half. So you would theoretically save those payments. However, and this is my concern, if we cut this in half, you're paying 12 mills until 2037 or 38. That's 13 or 14 years. That red line assumes we're never going to want to do those other things. So anything we take out of this big bond and say, well, we'll do that next time. Well, okay, if you wait 4 years, 5 years, 6 years, say, okay, now we'll do those other things. What's going to end up happening is you're going to get this anyways. You're going to extend that 12 mills anyways, but the downside is you wait 4, 5, 6 years, your buying power is about 70%. Josh, you're in construction, tell me, am I way off on that? There's no way of knowing, right? But history tells us it'll definitely cost more later. And so the only way really to really actualize any savings by cutting this in half and only doing half the things is if we do not foresee in any way another bond ask in the next 13 or 14 years. And I just can't see that happening. We want to be fiscally responsible. You've been fiscally responsible. We've built our general fund. You've built our capital projects fund. You've been great with the money over the years. This is the fiscally responsible choice if you want to see your district grow, if you want to see it enhanced, if you want your facilities to match the quality of facilities of every district around us. The other thing that I just want to emphasize is when I say districts around us, every district around us understands this is how you do these projects. Schools can't, I mean, we have saved and saved and saved and saved, and now we got $6 million in capital projects. You can see $6 million is a drop in the bucket on something like this. Schools funding is not designed to save up enough money to do large capital projects like this. When you want to make capital projects like this and to enhance your district and then grow your district, you have to go out for a bond. And everybody around us, Coopersville, Jenison, Hudsonville, Zeeland, Spring Lake, West Ottawa, I mean, Hamilton, Holland, they have all passed bonds in the last 3 to 4 years, some more recently than that, because they understand that if you want to make these enhancements, this is the mechanism that in this state, it's in place for us to do this. So that's why I am hopeful. Again, I feel like we've had a lot of conversation with folks, 1,000 survey responses, a lot of support for the things that were in the original. Just one of the things that I think we are going to do better with is get out the word. So what is the communication plan? Well, again, so the way this will go, hopefully tonight we get approval. We meet with Treasury on November 22nd. Treasury goes through, they have to see your plan. It should be fairly quick because they've seen most of our plan already, but they just make sure that there's nothing in there that's not allowable under the law. We get approval from them. We come back to you in December. You have to approve the final application from Treasury. That's what you'll be doing in December if we get to that point. Then if that comes through, then we contact the county and we say, okay, we need ballot language. Then in January, we'll be voting on the ballot language. That's the timeline I'm hopeful we can get to, because then in January, then we can go full steam ahead on communication. So if we delay the process, every time we delay, it narrows our window for communicating this out, because you don't want to get the cart in front of the horse. So we really need to get to that part where the ballot language is confirmed, we're good to go. Hopefully that's in January, and then we start hitting community information nights. Of course, we'll have plenty of Allendale Falconers, Allendale announcers. The Falconers go out to all of our families, the announcers go out to every home in Allendale. I'll do targeted community group meetings again. I'm sure the lifelong learners would love to have me back. I'll go meet with them. We've talked about doing a postcard mailer this time. You know, in August, there were so many political ads, we just felt like it would have been lost anyways. But we want to get this information in the hands of the people in our community, so we will pay to do a postcard mailer at least once and probably twice. Where it says flyer distribution, we've got motivated folks who want to take those flyers door to door. So the thought there is get out into the community, knock on the doors, distribute the information, make sure people have that. Of course, we will update our websites, including with informational videos. We had a few last time, we'll do many more this time. And then with our social media presence, again, we'll get the information out on social media. But as you mentioned, Liz, there's a lot of chatter on social media, and it's not always informed chatter. And so one of the things that the steering committee has said is we're going to have a group of 8 to 10 people who will monitor that social media, not to correct people, you know, but to say, well, here's the information that we were given. This is what the school is putting out. Because that didn't happen last time. Sometimes somebody would say something and it just sat there and it was misinformation. We want folks who will say, okay, here's the information. Call Dr. Cooper, whatever you need to do to follow up on this. We think if we take these 8 steps, we think we'll be successful. Again, reminder that the bond only failed by 150 votes in a town this big. That's pretty close. And we think that there is a lot of desire for this bond to pass, and we think the additions that we made will also make it more appealing for a broader group of folks. So that's all I got for you.
Questions?
Questions, please.
Okay. One, the graphs, those are great.
Okay.
Those are really helpful to explain, I think, you know, what maybe a missing piece from the last time of what was not with the, you know, extension in the millage and all of that. Really like the communication plan. I love the addition of the multipurpose room and the robotics room. I think that that's awesome. Those are some things we heard before, so I like that. A little concerned about the taking out of the locker room and the ECC playground. Like we kind of, like if we're adding 8 more classrooms, that's a lot of kids with like wraparound growing and stuff. 700,000 seems like a small amount to add back in, so just wanna, I guess my vote would be to maybe not take that out if the steering committee is still looking at suggestions, because that just seems like it's tight to begin with. If you drive past and those kids are out, there's a lot of kids out there. Otherwise, I like it.
Thanks. Well, and again, the playground's a project we could do out of capital projects fund.
Sure.
Yeah, obviously I was part of this process from the very, very beginning.
yeah.
And then this reinventing the proposal, and we could have gone out to now, because we're 6 months later, we could have gone all the way up to 106 million and not increased and got that same timeline, you know, so as a group, you know, we could have added, and I think if you look around the area, I think Grand Haven, their first bond failed and they went up. We thought it was important to kind of stick where we were, because I thought that those were the needs we needed. Obviously, we have a little different vision now, and some of the things I think that are important, like the ECC multipurpose room. I heard that kind of late in the first process, that was something that was needed, and yeah, it was kind of too late to get it in there. And then we also thought, if you're taking a lot away, you're telling voters, well, we didn't need it the first time. And I think there's a lot of good stuff in here, and that's why we tried to keep it in that same amount, because I think there is a lot of good stuff in there, and there's a lot of stuff that the school needs to be competitive with other schools. And unfortunately, that's what it is about a little bit now, is I mean, I think this is minus one school, probably the smallest bond proposal in Ottawa County, wasn't it?
I think Spring Lakes was smaller, I think Coopersville might have been
Yeah,
smaller.
but I mean, but we're right in that. I
Oh,
mean,
yeah, definitely, yeah, we're much, yeah.
Yeah, I mean,
Much less than most of them.
West Ottawa went out, I mean, they're out, I think, in the last 4 years, 400 million.
Yeah,
I know Hudsonville's out, I think they're out 150 or something. I know they're 125, their last one. I think we're not overshooting the area that we're in. And I think that was kind of our thought behind the steering committee, looking at what can we add, what can we take away, why did it fail, what parts of it failed, and I think we addressed some of the people that didn't feel that they had skin in the game. And I think, and I thought we were pretty close to having everybody covered, and we found a few more and again, I think the last one was a good bond, and I think this one's even better, to be honest with you, from the steering committee point of view.
you did a great job, Kevin.
I think that we need to be especially aware when we're doing all of those things, of mis and disinformation. I know Grand Haven had people that ran a negative campaign in an attempt to influence voters, and it was a group from out of the, well, not a group, but it was a company from out of the state that ran all the flyers and the postcards, and I think that we just need to make sure that we are prepared for that, because it wouldn't surprise me if that were to happen again. So we need to try and, do everything we can on the front side to make sure people are getting the correct information.
I'd like to hear the boots on the ground, door to door. I know that other districts have taken athletic teams, bands, and getting the kids in front of some people, handing out flyers. So I like that idea. I'll bring it up, and I've brought it up several times. The maintenance building reduction, will it eliminate the storage containers sitting on 68th Street?
100%,
Thank you. That's all I have.
100%. So one of the things too, if you don't mind me throwing something else out there too, and again, so you mentioned, Kevin, that we could go out for $106 million now, and that's because every time we make payments, this shifts. And that's why folks say, well, Garth, just tell me what it's gonna cost me. Well, I can't tell you what it's gonna cost you because the part where this gets extended is where it's gonna be new cost to you. So the cost between now and 2033 is not new cost to you. That's the cost you're gonna pay between now and then. The only way I can tell you what it's gonna cost you in 2034 is to know what your house value will be and to know what the township is gonna charge you for your tax increase that year. So I'm not trying to be disingenuous, it's just there is no way, I couldn't tell you what your house is gonna be worth next year, right? Because we don't know what the township's gonna do with those prices. There is a cost, but it's gonna go, the millage rate is gonna stay flat.
Right, and the
But
minute, Garth, if I
yeah,
may,
yeah.
I know where you're going with this. If you give out that number to someone for their house and it's not the same, you're on the hook for it.
Right.
So you can't give it out.
I'll give Madam Ellenboss's number then.
Yeah.
No, I'm just kidding. Probably wouldn't work. But the other thing I wanted to make is, so last year when we did this, I had a graph, and it said that we were gonna pay 12 mils if we didn't pass a bond till 2034. Already, since the last payment went in, it's down to 2033. And that's because as more businesses come in, as more homes go in, as the value of homes go up, because then when they make those projections, when you look at that graph, these are based on a couple of assumptions. One is it's kind of based on just a small growth percentage, but it's also based on 3% growth. I think it says it at the top. It assumes a 3% growth in the taxable value of your home. Do you know the last time the home's taxable value growth went up 3% in Allendale? I don't, but it was a long time ago. In the 8 years I've been here, it's 3.7, 4.8, 4.6. So every time the taxable value of homes goes up, that graph is gonna shift to the left because we're paying more on the interest than we projected to make. every business, so when Jiffy Lube opens up and starts changing my oil, that's gonna help that shift. When more homes get built, that's gonna make that shift. And so, again, that's why I can't tell you, even if I knew what you'd pay in 34, 35, 36, if I told you were gonna have to pay that till 2042, I would probably be wrong, because I believe it's all gonna shift to the left because of the growth of the community. And I think that's great, that's a huge positive.
Thank you. Any further discussion? All right, I think we're ready for the roll call, Amy.
DeYoung,
Yes.
Hendricks,
Yes.
Holsteg,
Yes.
Mango,
Yes.
Ramey. Yes. Thurkettle,
Yes.
Kanata.
Yes.
Thank you.
Motion to approve the bond to be presented to the Michigan Department of Treasury as presented passes. Do I have a motion to approve the resolution to join the insulin litigation the insulin litigation resolution as presented?
I make a motion to approve the resolution to join the insulin litigation resolution as presented.
Support.
Motion by Kevin, support by Liz, and we are open for discussion.
So there is a firm that has started a class action lawsuit against the pharmaceutical companies making insulin for overinflating the price of insulin. Now, we don't, obviously, as an entity, purchase insulin, but where it impacts the school is that because if the cost of insulin has been overinflated, then it increases the cost to insure folks. So as they calculate insurance premiums every year, they base it on the per individual cost for healthcare. And so if my healthcare cost went up because I'm paying more for insulin, then the district would pay more for my insurance. And so that's what the lawsuit's all about, is that you have caused these different entities to pay more in healthcare costs because you inflated the cost of your drugs that were in such great need. And so we are a part of the West Michigan Health Pool for anyone who gets insurance in the district that is not a certified teacher or part of that bargaining group. And the West Michigan pool is a part of the litigation. However, it's been suggested that individual districts should join as well, because you never know if the judge might say, well, we're not going to allow the health insurance companies to be in this, but the individuals who were aggrieved by this, the school districts, may stay in the litigation. And so it benefits us to become a part of this. There's no cost to us. If the litigation is successful and either at court or settlement and some money comes out, it's probably not going to be a lot, maybe 20 or 30,000. I don't know, I don't want to speculate because you just don't know. But any money that we might get back, then the attorney gets paid and we get the rest, and then we would have to decide what to do with that. We can't reimburse individuals because there is no way for us to know who takes insulin. That would be a violation of the HIPAA rules to know that. But we could talk about maybe reinvesting that into offsetting the cost of our individual, because all of us who get health insurance have to pay a monthly along with that. So maybe there's a way for us to reduce that cost. But it's kind of a no risk to us because we're not hiring the attorney per se, but we can become part of the class action suit and we would benefit if they are successful.
Thank you.
Has Coleman or Troon read the contract or document that's in our packet?
So the legal firm that starts this is out of California. They always hire in each state that could be impacted a local law office to just kind of get the information out. And so Troon is the local legal firm. Troon's only responsibility here is to get the information to member districts around the state and then, get them signed up. But yeah, so they've seen it and Troon has sent it out. In fact, I think the resolution was created by and crafted by Troon for this. But they won't be a part of litigating the case.
Any other discussion? Amy?
Kanata,
Abstain.
DeYoung,
Yes.
Hendricks,
Yes.
Holsteig,
Yes.
Mango,
Yes.
Ramey. Yes. Thurkettle.
Yes.
Motion carries as presented. All right, at this time, do I have a motion to move to closed session for the purpose of the superintendent evaluation at 7:06?
I make a motion to move into closed session for the purpose of superintendent evaluation discussion at 7:06.
Support.
Motion by Kevin, second by Liz. All right, we'll take a small break,
We're gonna meet in the-
bathrooms
Yeah, we'll
or,
meet in the conference room, so the bathrooms are in the main office. So
Okay.
we'll use the-
We do need to do a roll call vote for.
session at 8:09. I have a motion to approve the superintendent performance evaluation of 98%.
I make a motion to approve the superintendent performance evaluation rating by 98%.
Support.
Motion by Kevin, second by Anna. Any discussion? Amy, will you please?
Amy, or Liz, don't do it.
Holsteig,
Yes.
Mango,
Yes.
Ramey. Yes. Thurkettle,
Yes.
Kanata,
Yes.
DeYoung,
Yes.
Hendricks.
Yes.
Motion carries as presented. We have a motion to extend the superintendent contract until June 30, 2028.
I make a motion to extend the superintendent's contract until June 30 of 2028.
Support. Motion by Kevin, support from Josh. We are open for discussion.
So I would like to say thank you to Dr. Cooper. When you have a superintendent that scores at a 98%, it makes this decision very easy for me, supported by all the things we discussed in closed session. I appreciate your hard work for the district, your hard work for the board as well. So I will be supporting this.
Any further discussion? Amy, call the roll, please.
Mango,
Yes.
Ramey.
Yes.
Thurkettle,
Yes.
Kanata,
Yes.
DeYoung,
Yes.
Hendricks,
Yes.
Holsteig.
Yes.
Thank you. Enjoy.
Job well done.
Thank you.
I have a motion to adjourn at 8:12 PM.
I make a motion to adjourn at 8:12 p.m.
Support.
Motion by Kevin, support from Ham, I believe. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. All opposed, say the same. Meeting adjourned.